Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the weekly Kenai Peninsula fishing report. In this video, I go over all of last week's information, rumors on the water, what I've seen out there, and let you know how best to plan your trip down here to the peninsula and the waterways here. As always, let's start with some emergency orders and press releases. If you don't know, you got to check these out before you hit the waters, just in case there's any limitations to the fishing down here. The first one we got, this was released June 3rd. Anchor River and Deep Creek closed to sport fishing in favor of protecting returning king salmon and ensuring sport fishing opportunities in the future. The Alaska Department of Fish and Game is closing the Anchor River and Deep Creek drainages to all sport fishing effective 12:01 a.m. Saturday, June 5th through Thursday, July 15th this year. As of June 1st, a total of 127 king salmon had been counted on the Anchor River using a combination of video weirs and sonar. By this date, in years when the Anchor River sustainable escapement goal was not achieved, an average of 300 king salmon had been counted. So usually they want 300. We got about a third of that, 127. Based on the 2018-2020 Anchor River king salmon run timing, the escapement is projected to be less than total 2,000 kings in 2021. Here's a quote from the area management biologist Mike Booz. This year's Anchor River king salmon run does not look strong enough to support further sport fishing opportunities this season. Closing these streams of sport fishing, along with the near shore closure and the upper Cook Inlet saltwaters, will give us the best chance of achieving the escapement goals. Okay, great. That also goes into conjunction with the other emergency order that we'll talk about, which closes king salmon, including catch and release, in the upper Cook Inlet saltwaters north of Bluff Point within 1 mile of shore from June 5th through July 15th. Okay, great. And let's read that one, since that just went into effect on June 5th. This is the king salmon restrictions in the Cook Inlet saltwaters in favor of protecting returning king salmon and ensuring sport fishing opportunities in the future. The Alaska Department of Fish and Game is closing sport fishing for king salmon within 1 mile of shore in the saltwaters of Cook Inlet north of the latitude of Bluff Point. This regulatory change is effective 12:01 a.m. Saturday, June 5th through 11:59 p.m. Thursday, July 15th. So, guys, north of Bluff Point, you can't be fishing within 1 mile of shore for king salmon. King salmon counts have been below average this year at most of our monitoring stations throughout Cook Inlet. And Alaska Department of Fish and Game is managing this fishery conservatively to minimize the harvest of local stocks, stated area management biologist Mike Booz. Anglers will still be able to fish for other species in these waters and target king salmon in the lower Cook Inlet since there are no restrictions to the summer saltwater fishery south of Bluff Point. So south of Bluff Point, you're still good to go. That's out of Homer. You guys can still be catching kings in the ocean there. Let's see the last one here, the Ninilchik River. This was released on February 1st. It expires June 14th. This is an important one. To protect returning king salmon and ensure sport fishing opportunities in the future, the Alaska Department of Fish and Game is implementing the following sport fishing restrictions for king salmon in the Ninilchik drainage effective 12:01 a.m. Saturday, May 29th through 11:59 p.m. So I said February, but this is updated on May 29th through June 14th. So this is relatively new. The king salmon bag and possession limit in the Ninilchik River is limited to only hatchery king salmon only. The bag and possession limits for anglers is 1 hatchery king salmon 20 inches or greater in length and 10 hatchery king salmon under 20 inches. Hatchery king salmon are recognized by a missing adipose fin, that's the fin on the top toward the tail, and a healed adipose fin clip scar. All naturally produced or wild king salmon have an adipose fin. So, guys, if it has an adipose fin, you gotta let it go. You're not even supposed to take it out of the water. Yeah, it may not be removed from the water. It must be released immediately. All other sport fishing regulations outlined in the 2021 South Central Sport Fishing Regulations for the Ninilchik remain the same. So let's say they talk about Memorial Day weekend that already happened. Let's see, on June 9th, the youth-only fishery. During the youth-only fishery, the bag and possession limit is 1 hatchery king salmon of any size. There are currently no restrictions on the hatchery-only king salmon fishery in the Ninilchik River that begins on June 16th. Okay, and then he goes on to talk about how he's hoping that the run will continue to be okay this year. Awesome. That's so those are the emergency orders from Alaska Fishing Game. You guys gotta pay attention to those before you come down here. And of course, let's talk about the Kenai River. This is everyone's favorite river. We're waiting for those kings to start running. Usually July. People say that's when they come in. We can take a look at the temperature increases and the flow gauge here from the USGS from May 30th through June 6th. We're seeing a water temperature increase of about a couple degrees. Back in May 30th, the high was about 46 degrees, and just recently, June 6th, the high is 48 degrees. So that's the high, and then of course it drops a little bit lower down to 43 degrees at night, but most recently 44. So we're looking at the highs averaging about 4 degrees warmer, and the lows about two. So there's definitely a warming trend. That's great. That's what we want to see. We want those salmon coming back and spawning. Let's see, temperature, air increase. Obviously, the air is going up as well. We almost hit 65 on June 6th. That's awesome. It's up from the high 50s, low 60s out towards the end of last week. And then the discharge cubic feet per second, we're up about 1,000 over the last week. So 1,000 more from 7,000 to 8,000. There's a lot more water coming through the river. That's a good thing. That means those glaciers are melting. All that water is starting to come out to the ocean and hopefully triggering those big kings to come in. So a little bit of observations. I've been fishing for the last 7 days. I've fished 5 days. Well, I fished 6 days. 5 of those days were on the Kasilof River. I've been putting all my energy into the Kasilof. I'm trying to catch a king, and so are a lot of other guys. There's a lot of fishermen out there, and there are people catching kings. People in the boat specifically, they're having an okay season. They're catching them. They're definitely out there. And every time I've been there, I've witnessed somebody walking a king salmon back to their car. But personally, I haven't caught one. I've caught a nice steelhead. I saw another guy catch a beautiful steelhead the other day. And today, most recently, I'm filming this a couple hours before filming this video. I actually saw a bunch of sockeye jumping out of the water. So that's interesting. The sockeye are coming in a little bit earlier than expected. I heard one couple talking about how they actually caught a sockeye today. And so that's a good sign. The Kasilof is off to a slow start. A lot of people blame the weather for the slow kings. It's been a cold spring, and it's taken a while for those water temperatures to warm up. But we're seeing, at least on the Kenai River, that warming trend. That warming trend is definitely reflected in the Kasilof River as well. As far as saltwater fishing goes, I fished this past week off the beach of the Kasilof, of course, the Ninilchik beach there, and then off the beach of the Kenai River. Off the beach of the Kenai, I've had the most success: one flounder, two dogfish. At this point in time, I can pretty much guarantee if you want to catch a dogfish, you fish high tide off the mouth of the Kenai River, you'll catch them. I haven't seen anybody pulling a halibut, but there's a lot of people out there with the water getting warmer, the weather getting better. There's a lot of people on the beaches, a lot of people fishing, but I haven't seen too much action out there besides dogfish. Well, guys, that's pretty much all I got this week. I'm gonna try to do this every single week since I am fishing. I mean, I am fishing pretty much every single day, and I'm down here based in Kenai, so it's only a couple of minutes for me to get to all these rivers. And so I'm gonna do my best to keep you guys updated, let you know what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and then any of the news as it comes out from the state.